my name is Sandra Lopez, and you're watching Movement News, Chicagoland's newest grassroots media organization committed to the presentation of local Chicagoland news, updates, and narratives. We aim to present stories that represent you and your local community. Thank you for watching, and welcome to the movement. So first up is some local news and updates. Amazon is coming to Chicago, or is it? Just last week, Chicago Alderman Anthony Beale said that he cut a deal with Amazon to build a massive warehouse in the South Side neighborhood of Pullman, citing that the new warehouse could provide hundreds of new jobs. According to Beale, after year-long negotiation, Amazon has agreed to build a $60 million distribution facility on the site of the old Ryerson Steel Factory that would create 500 construction jobs and at least 200 permanent jobs. Chicago Mayor Lightfoot, however, expressed disdain. "I don't think there's anything to talk about just yet," said Lori Lightfoot. "We haven't heard anything from Amazon, so I think Alderman Beale got a little ahead of himself." The announcement has some folks reeling, particularly Amazon employees who have openly criticized Amazon's stance on climate change and unruly business practices, among other issues that affect workers and the larger global community. In an article published by Medium, members of Amazon Employees for Climate Justice called for the company to end its contract with ICE, oil and gas companies. Here is what a few members had to say. "The science on climate change is clear. It is unconscionable for Amazon to continue helping the oil and gas industry extract fossil fuels while trying to silence employees who speak out." Amelia Graham McCann, Senior Business Analyst of Amazon. "I think it's dangerous for any company of any size to silence the words of the employees who are looking for the welfare of everyone," said Vivek Kopuru, software development engineer. Amazon's distribution center would be located at 104th Street and Woodlawn Avenue. Alderman Beale says that Amazon would get a property tax break. However, the Chicago Federation of Labor is saying that billionaire businesses don't deserve tax breaks when it comes to low-paying jobs. Amazon has been edging closer to the city with new distribution facilities after initially focusing on the suburbs, including Joliet, Aurora, and Waukegan. Apparently hoping to get orders faster to city residents, Chicago was the next big step for Amazon. The company does have one small warehouse on Goose Island on the north side. Next up, fixing Chicago's recycling system. Chicago's recycling rate of just 8.8% is far below the national average of 35.2%. Mayor Lightfoot has spearheaded a study to see how other regions recycle in an effort to determine best practices. The new commission study would allow Chicago to take strides in sustainability. In comparison, Cook County suburbs had a recycling rate of 19%. The United States recycling rate was 35.2% in 2017, and that is the most recent year that data was available, according to the Environmental Protection Agency. Our first step, let me just share Lori's quote. "Our first step is making sure we do a comprehensive look at what we're seeing in other markets, what the data is telling us, and then we'll have a better sense of how we go forward," said Mayor Lori Lightfoot on Monday. "The market for recycling goods has changed fairly dramatically, which has absolutely had an impact on our ability. But we're looking at a lot of different options, but we're going to be driven by what the study and what the data tells us." Next up, the nation mourns the legendary athlete Kobe Bryant. In a shocking turn of events that has stunned the nation, we are sad to report tonight that basketball legend Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others were killed in a helicopter crash on Sunday, January 26th. The remains of all victims who were aboard the ill-fated helicopter have been recovered from the crash site in Calabasas, California this morning. The news of the loss of this great athlete has turned the sports world and has particularly devastated Los Angeles fans. Hundreds of people have spent the last few days outside of the Staples Center to mourn the loss of their basketball icon. We want to remember the life and the talent with a compilation of some of his greatest moves on the court. Take a look.
Here's Kobe Bryant, what a move! Kobe Bryant drive in, leaving lane, square. Oh, what a shot!
Into the lane for an emphatic slam.
Oh, look out! Knocked away, picked up by Kobe. What a move by Kobe Bryant. Backdoor live to Kobe, catch and shoot, score! What a move!
Kobe trying to create some space, goes baseline, gets a couple of defenders in the air, and makes a tough 15-footer.
Kobe backs up, another 3 on the way. I cannot believe this. Now raises a deep 3, got another one. Kobe with 43.
Darren Williams by Kobe Bryant at the rim. Inside rebound, no. And the putback by Kobe.
Matched up with Kobe. He gets by Korver, racks it up. What a dunk by Kobe on the tomahawk.
One of Kobe's many bread and butter plays.
Kobe with a response. Threw it down in the face of Karolinko. Bryant put up on the glass for himself.
Yes, he did. That was sensational.
Bryant trailing.
Nice.
Kobe throws it down. Bryant foul. He backed it in.
Kobe just shredding the Utah defense.
105-104. Kobe one-on-one with Raja Bell. He'll go baseline. Pull up Jay. Got it. No words to describe it. Unbelievable.
Bryant is survived by his wife Vanessa and his 3 daughters. Next up, Trump impeachment continues into day 6. Yesterday, White House lawyers defended President Donald Trump at his Senate impeachment trial. Questions regarding a reported draft manuscript of a forthcoming book by former National Security Advisor John Bolton gave Democrats a new hope for their call of witnesses to testify, for the request for more witnesses to testify, In an unpublished version of Bolton's book, The Room Where It Happened, Bolton said that Trump told him that he wanted to continue withholding nearly $400 million in security assistance to Ukraine until officials in Ukraine helped investigate Democrats, including former Vice President Joe Biden. Republican Senator Mitt Romney, who is one of the 4 GOP moderates that Democrats have targeted in hopes of getting their support for witnesses, said on Monday that it's important for senators to hear Bolton's account in order to make an impartial judgment. In typical Trump fashion, he denied allegations in a tweet posted just yesterday. I never told John Bolton that the aid to Ukraine was tied to investigations into Democrats, including the Bidens. In fact, he never complained about this at the time of his very public termination. If John Bolton said this, it was only to sell a book. With that being said, and he goes on to his next tweet, but we'll go ahead and just share that online. Though Trump's approval ratings are inching towards a career high, 2/3 of Americans say that the U.S. Senate should call new witnesses at Donald Trump's impeachment trial. Currently, 41% approve of Trump's performance in office, while 51% disapprove, maintaining his position as the first president in modern history to never achieve a majority approval. Next up, we're going to move on to international news. Global concern has quickly increased as the spread of the coronavirus outbreak continues to grow, with the death toll rising to at least 106. All across China, over 4,500 cases have been confirmed. The youngest reported case being for a 9-month-old girl. There have been 5 confirmed cases in the United States, with cases in California, Arizona, and Chicago all under investigation. 6 cases of the new coronavirus have been confirmed in Hong Kong, a city that was badly affected by the 2003 SARS virus. Anti-government protests have impacted Hong Kong for months, with tension over the government's response to the alarming virus outbreak reaching a fever pitch. On Sunday, a group of protesters lit the lobby of a newly built residential building that was slated to serve as a quarantine area for people who had been exposed to the virus. We are dissatisfied with the government selecting this housing estate as a quarantine separation village, as it's very close to a residential area and a primary school, said a 28-year-old resident named Song. The government condemned the fires set at the public housing complex, but have also backed away from using these houses for quarantine, saying it would instead use government-owned sites first. Tensions flare at the Mexico and Guatemala border, leaving refugees mistreated by state force. Just last week, Mexican authorities used pepper spray on a caravan of 40,000 Central American migrants who attempted to cross over to Mexico illegally, while concurrently offering jobs and opportunities for migrants that had entered illegally. Last year, Mexico imposed a new resolution to curb illegal immigration, following pressure from the Trump administration's threat to impose tariffs and close the border. Many immigrant advocates denounced the measure, claiming authorities committed human rights violations through the use of excessive force. The Mexican president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, however, feels otherwise. On a Friday news conference, he said, "The problem had been resolved well. Fortunately, human rights have been respected." This act of state force follows suit after the U.S. National Guard also used tear gas at the U.S.-Mexico border in Tijuana to deter a group of immigrants attempting to cross the border illegally. Local immigrant groups in the U.S. note that the tensions at the border are no doubt caused by the disproportionate pressure from the Trump administration, as well as continued inappropriate behavior by federal employees of the former administration. They insist that Trump's administration's efforts to declare Mexico a safe third country for refugees and asylum seekers is adding to the crisis. They continue to call on AMLO to fully denounce this behavior and work swiftly to ensure these instances of state force against migrants do not continue. Next up, election 2020. As election 2020 continues, every state and city in the union have ongoing local elections that will determine seats in the U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, local state houses, and other municipalities. There are several races around the country that have sparked interest on the national stage. One local Illinois race that has sparked wide attention is a 3rd Congressional District Democratic primary. Tonight, we have a special segment for you that explores the political landscape of Illinois' 3rd Congressional District and dives into the current congressional campaign. Take a look.
The Illinois 3rd Congressional District has been held by conservative Democrat Dan Lipinski for nearly 20 years. In 2004, his father, who previously held the seat, appointed him when he retired from office. Lipinski is one of the most conservative Democrats in the House of Representatives, with a voting record that aligns with the Trump administration nearly 1/3 of the time. During the Obama administration, Lipinski voted against the DREAM Act and the Affordable Care Act. In 2012, he famously declined to endorse the then sitting president Barack Obama. He has also voted in favor of restricting women's access to reproductive health care and harsher criminalization and penalties for immigrants. For years, Lipinski avoided any serious challenge from within his own party. However, in 2018, Marie Newman ran against him on a progressive platform that called for health care for all, immigrant rights, and support for women's access to reproductive health care. Newman was an unknown at the time and had never held political office. Although she did not receive support from the Democratic Party and had significantly less funding than Lipinski, Newman nearly defeated the establishment machine and lost by only 2,000 votes. Newman is challenging Lipinski again this cycle, and the nation continues to keep its eyes on the race. This time around, Newman has racked up a long list of endorsements that range from community organizations to unions to prominent elected officials. Some notable endorsements include Planned Parenthood, SEIU, Justice Democrats, the Sunrise Movement, as well as Senator Kristen Gillibrand, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Senator Cory Booker, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Bernie Sanders, and many local Chicago politicians. Newman has also tripled her fundraising since the 2018 campaign and has a new and growing movement of young people working for and volunteering with her campaign. We went out into the field to talk to some of these young people and get their perspective on the political climate in Illinois 3.
My name is Sam Bernier, and I live in Oak Lawn. I do public relations, social media work for a living, and I'm out here canvassing today for Marie Newman. Marie Newman fundamentally understands the problems that are going on in our country, and she has a plan to fix them. Specifically, she supports Medicare for All and a Green New Deal, which are probably my two biggest priorities, with ensuring that everyone has access to affordable health care, and not just access, as a right to have health care. And then the environment. We are on our way to a climate catastrophe if we don't act now. Marie Newman understands how big of a priority that is and how we have to act now, whereas Dan Lipinski does not. Dan Lipinski has failed me, but not just me, my family, my friends, and everyone else that I know as our congressman. He voted against the Affordable Care Act, which guarantees health care to people with pre-existing conditions. I have a pre-existing condition. I've had 3 open heart surgeries. If I did not have the Affordable Care Act, I would never be given health insurance. He voted against the DREAM Act. Marie Newman has people who are dreamers, who are not citizens of this country, who rely on the DREAM Act to keep them here without being deported. These are people who grew up in the United States. That's the only home they know. They don't know another home in another country. And Dan Lipinski voted to deport those people, quite frankly. He says he supports it now. That's just not true. He voted for it in 2019 when the Democrats had the House, and it was an easy vote for him, but he didn't make the hard vote when it was important. He claims to care about climate change. We see the effects of climate change all over this district. Climate is destroying us, let's see, what else? Infrastructure. Dan Lipinski claims to care about infrastructure. It's crumbling. Our bridges are crumbling. The Illinois 3rd has some of the worst bridges in the entire country. And Dan Lipinski claims to bring billions of dollars to support those and fund those. I haven't seen any of those projects get completed. So he's failed dreamers. He's failed anyone who needs health care. He fails anyone who needs to commute. He's just a failure of a congressman, and Marie Newman gets things done, and that's why I support her, quite frankly. Yeah, young people are absolutely, I think, the most adamant supporters of Marie Newman, as far as I've seen. Her campaign staff is very young. Her volunteer staff is very young and diverse. And I believe that it is because of the policies that she supports and because of the people who support her as well. Bernie Sanders has the largest percentage of young voters in his camp, and he endorsed Marie Newman way back in 2018 before a lot of other people who have endorsed Marie have. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, another one, a 28-year-old Latina from the Bronx, who beat one of the longest sitting incumbents in the state of New York. And she beat the machine. She supports Marie Newman, and a lot of young people see the policies that people like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they see those policies in Marie Newman's platform: Medicare for All, Green New Deal, raising taxes on the rich, supporting child care for everyone, free college. These are planks of that young people who have grown up under an unfair capitalistic system. This is what they're seeing these are the policies that they need to survive. These aren't just things that they want or things that they're greedy for. It's things that if they don't get, we're never going to have the same quality of life as our parents or our grandparents. So I'm out here today with my brother and one of my friends. So we are, 3 people who are in our mid-20s who support Marie Newman. Last week I was at a phone bank with a bunch of 19-year-olds. We held an event for college students over their winter break that got 25 people out. So it is young people who are powering this campaign and young people who are inspired by Marie Newman.
My name is Danny Robles. I'm one of Marie's field organizers here in the Chicago campaign. A little bit about me. I went to school here at UIC. I'm basically a long life Chicagoan. So the DCCC has basically put their backing on him, but I think at this point, it's a losing battle for them because we are in this wave where we are going to have newer representation who actually represents the values of the district. I will say that one of the things that I have noticed is the fact that she ran in 2018 really cemented her name here in the district with a lot of young progressive leaders, and I think the turnout this time around has been a lot more positive. We're seeing more volunteers come through, more people excited to be part of the Marie Newman campaign, and we're definitely seeing a lot of not only local support but also national support from other organizations. There's a big controversy about the national backing, but what people don't understand is that there's a lot of people within the district and within the actual city limits that are very much supportive of Marie to be the next representative of Illinois 3rd. And the final piece, with this district being 30% Latino or Latinx, quite a bit more other smaller immigrant groups. There's a huge population in this district that still relies on DACA to kind of stay in this country, and with the attacks that President Trump has passed on DACA, there's a lot of lives in this district who are heavily affected and who are every day they wonder, when is going to be my last day here? When am I going to be able to be part of this country? And I think for her, she understands the need for immigrants to continue coming to this country to help prosper the country, because this country has been built by immigrants. All our families came from a different nation at a certain point of our history, and it's one of the beautiful parts about this country is that there's a lot of culture, a lot of ethnicity, and a lot of religions that can coexist and work with each other. And I think it's something that it might not be true across the entire country, but here in Chicago, and specifically here in Illinois 3, it is a very real reality where we have so many different cultures living amongst each other. Vote for Marie, March 17th.
All right, so we will continue to cover the Illinois 3 Congressional District race, and it will be a recurring segment on our show, so keep tuning in for more. Our local plug for tonight, so this Friday, actually, we have 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and just quickly say an evening dialogue with Centoya Brown-Long. We will just go ahead and post that on our social media if you're interested in learning more. She's going to be at the University of Chicago on Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. She's going to be speaking about her book. We will be there, so feel free to come by and say hello. But it is time for us to go. We have about a minute left, so just want to let everyone know that every year 4 million young people turn 18, and that's a voting block with the potential to decide elections. Please, please, please register to vote. You can go ahead and do so at ova.elections.illinois.gov. You can also follow us on social media. We're at Mass Movement Media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We leave you tonight. We have 30 seconds for some local talent. And since tonight's spotlight was on Illinois 3, we're sharing some local talent in the district. The Studs and their new music video, Allen. Enjoy.